to the Retrograde video game podcast, where this week we talk everything there is to know about sausage rolls.
Yes.
Stevens in particular.
Yeah, we're going to show you how the sausage is made. My name is Andrew Bascom. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Oscar, my Aaronworth, Andrew. You want to punch up the rest of my intros or what? What is...
Didn't even get through the intro before, like, what about this alt?
It's, to be fair, better.
Yeah.
But then how are they supposed to know we're talking about Stevens sausage roll?
Oh, God, I'm so sorry. I couldn't even help I realized halfway through what was happening. I'm like, oh, Andrew, don't even, man. Jesus
No,
Christ.
I'll be fair. It was good.
Yeah. Let me do your job, then I'll go back to doing my job, the intro.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll do
wonderful.
both of them. Yeah.
We're playing Stevens sausage roll, and there's a reason we're playing this. Is this a widely known game, do you think?
So when I read, obviously the reason we're doing this is because 2 weeks ago we did Braid on the podcast, and Jonathan Blow, who is a prolific video game developer in his own right, for some reason quoted Stevens Sausage Roll as maybe his favorite puzzle game of all time. Mm-hmm. And I read that thinking, I know most games. I've never heard of Stevens Sausage Roll. Even the games I have no plans on playing, like Getting Over It by Bennett Foddy, like these notoriously difficult games, I know of them in the peripherals. Never heard of Stevens Sausage Roll. I looked it up. It was very well received, and its popularity, I'm not sure. It seems among critics it was very popular, but we played this game over on the YouTube channel. We gave it a good 40-45 minutes or so to really sink our teeth into this sausage roll, and I think there's a very clear reason why it didn't hit mainstream in the way that maybe it could have.
It's because it's hard?
And the graphics.
Oh, yeah.
It just, there's nothing, I don't think you could look at a screenshot of this game and think, that's a game I want to play. If I had seen screenshots of this without having heard that Jonathan Blow was a big fan, I don't think I ever would have tried this game.
Yeah, it's graphically not good.
Yeah, and I mean, it's of an era, I guess, and but I think the graphics are a means to an end. It's about the puzzles themselves.
Yeah.
So Stevens Sausage Roll is a game that came out in 2016. Obviously, we're here reviewing it in 2024, the 8th year anniversary of it.
Beautiful.
Like Jonathan Blow, we like to do our anniversaries in nonsensical orders. It was developed and published by Increpair Games in April of 2016. It was designed and credited, design of this game was credited to Stephen Lavelle, who is the owner of Increpair Games. He's made over 425 games in his life. That's
How is that possible?
It feels like he just is very good at what he does.
Prolific.
He must be prolific and incredibly smart. I mean, he made this game, Stevens Sausage Roll, which broke our fucking brains the first puzzle in.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, keep going with the description, then we'll talk.
And then we'll get to the gameplay. And by the way, if you haven't yet, you should check out the gameplay segment over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Retrograde Podcast. Like I said, we played 45 minutes or so. We had some fun. We banged our heads against the wall. It was really funny. Like we are wont to be. We may not be good at games, but we can sure crack a joke. And sometimes one of us will crack it and the other one will say, you should have said this.
Yes,
and that's always good.
That's always good. The second time you hear the joke, you're like, ooh, that's the good one.
That's the good time.
I also will say, you should go watch the video because describing this game will sound painfully simple.
Yes.
And there's so much more nuance and context to it that you need to see.
That's a very good point. Maybe more than ever, you need to at least catch 10-15 minutes of what this game looks like. The Guinness Book of World Records, named Stephen Lavelle the most prolific, to borrow a word from you, independent game developer in 2016.
Oh, of all time?
Yeah.
Or of that year?
I mean, it says of all time.
Wow.
Because it's Guinness. It's like, the most prolific. And I don't know how they measure that. It doesn't feel like something that can be objective or anything like that. But, a guy who's made over 420 games, that's pretty impressive.
Nice.
And I feel like they'd want to give credit to someone who wasn't like a well-established game developer, just someone who kind of, and plus it was for independent game development. So let's talk about gameplay a little bit, Andrew.
Yeah.
Because I don't have much to say about any of this guy's other games. We're not here to talk about that. I don't know if I ever want to play another game from this guy. And that's not me revealing too much of what I think about this game. No. We will give our reviews, but this felt like work. This game felt like work and was very intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was intimidating.
Yeah.
It was intimidating because when we started our first level, and we'll explain what you do, but when we started our first level, I thought, oh God, is this the game?
Yes.
Oh God, is this the rest of the game? Is this the first level? Now, we found out we maybe didn't go in sequential order.
Right.
Because there is almost no instruction. You start the game.
Right.
You just start.
There's 2 stone slabs that basically say like, welcome to the world. You're on your own.
Wisdom Island.
Wisdom Island. Press B to go back a step. Press Y to reset. That's all you need to know.
That's it. We don't even know. So Stevens Sausage Roll, there is a guy.
Uh-huh.
He's got a little fork type thing.
Right. The titular, Stephen.
The titular, you find out later.
Yeah.
There's a deep, rich backstory involved. And then you start by putting your fork kind of in this like, ghost type like form that
This is important. I don't want to move past this too quickly. In order to start a level, you need to solve a puzzle pretty much. You're in an overworld, and in order to get the level to start, and it doesn't tell you need to do this. You just, as you mentioned, you see these little ghost forks.
Yep.
You have to maneuver your way into them to fit perfectly within the ghost shape.
Yeah, like an outlet.
Like an outlet. Yes. Yeah.
And so you start, and there's kind of like a pink blob, and that dissolves, and you now see what the puzzle is. And the puzzle is essentially that a sausage, which is 3 boxes, you're 1 box, let's say, right. 3 boxes long, and there's many...
Two boxes long.
They're 2 boxes long? Sorry, they're 2 boxes long, and then there are these grills, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. It's a little island, there's water on the outside, and the grill can be a different shape, it can be in different spots, and you're essentially trying to cook a sausage on both sides. So you could cook them quarterly, you could cook them half, but if you move a cooked side again onto the grill, onto another cooked part, it's burnt and the level is over.
There are a few ways you can fail this game. You can either grill sausages twice on the same side or the same half of the same side. You can roll a sausage off of the playing area. Yep. Your player character, Steven himself, can fall off the playing area.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Wow,
or you can just burn a sausage by, like I said, grilling it twice on the same spot. The game style is often credited as Sokoban game style in the same way that people call games a roguelike. It's because it's borrowing from the original game Rogue, which would kind of re-roll the dice every time you played. It would give you like a new experience. Yeah. Sokoban was a game that came out in 1981, and it's basically a puzzle game where you move boxes around a warehouse, and you have to get the boxes into a certain part of the playing screen. And it's like pixel by pixel. So you move it over 1 to the right and 1 down. You have to be on one side of it to move it a certain way. That's the style of Sokoban, which is a term that I'd never heard before and learned about it just in doing some research for the game. So when we talk about this being like, oh, you just have to grill the sausage, it feels like that would be very straightforward. Yeah. But everything you do, everywhere you move, affects the sausages in a way that gets them either precariously close to the edge of the playing surface, on one grill, and once it's grilled on one side, you can't ungrill it. It's kind of like toothpastes and tubes. Yep. What are some other examples of
things you can't
undo?
Things you can't undo. Tell your son that you're proud of them.
Oh God, I'm so happy you can't undo that.
Yeah, I know,
because I elicited that one time,
and
that's all I need. That's all I need. So. See, it's funny because having played this, and you said this before we started out, it's going to sound overly simple.
Yep.
Have we done a good enough job explaining what this game looks like, plays like?
2 things that I would add to it as well. So you have this fork in front of you. So you actually are technically 2 boxes long or 2 squares long, but it spins. So you could move your back into something. Yeah. And that fork now stays in front of you. I know that's going to be a hard visual if you haven't seen the game.
Basically half the size of a sausage.
A good comparison for the game is one of those sliding boxes where there is 1 square missing.
Yes.
And you're sliding things around to try and move that box
like
to the other side.
Traffic Jam, that old game.
Yes, exactly. That is what the closest comparison is. Even though there's a lot more space than one of those games, you are essentially trying to, if I move this here and I move that up and I move this left, that sequential thing can open a bunch of boxes for you. And the sausages and the grills are just kind of the activation about it. So
it would be like if you're thinking about that game with the pegs and slots or the Traffic Jam game, it would be like if you had to get each of the green cars within that Traffic Jam kind of square over a specific square in the grid, because this is a grid-based game, only one time, and you couldn't go back over those things. You have to think about where you're moving things, what you're moving consequently of having moved that one thing.
What are the consequences of it? Yes.
Can you move it one way and bring it back? Because if not, you can't stick a fork in the sausage and pull it backwards. There was one very a great moment that I remember when we were playing where we had 3 sausages that were playing, and if you move one, it pushes everything over 1 block to the right. And if the rightmost sausage,
I know it sounds insane. I know it sounds insane.
If the rightmost sausage, because a sausage can kind of like kind of like go over the playing board by one and still balance on it.
Yes.
If the rightmost sausage, it goes half off of the playing field, you notice that there's no way to bring it back based on the areas that you can reach on the map. And that basically meant that half of the moves that we could have done to move the sausages were taken off the board. Because you're like, as soon as that sausage reaches the right side, it's game over for us. We have to reset the board. And it was this thinking of learning the vocabulary of the game and learning it in a way that is self-taught and self-realized, as opposed to having a text box that's like, be careful, if this sausage goes over to the right, you can't bring it back. There are tons of moments like that when you realize it, even so much as like the backing up to roll a sausage instead of using the fork was something like a mechanic that we learned without having being told it, but it changed the entire way we had to play the game.
Yeah. It's it's one of these games that gives you so little instruction, right? And the other one that we should also make clear, very similar to Braid, you can restart or undo levels. You can undo steps, and so you can sequentially move your frame backwards, and that helped a lot too.
By 2 different button presses. And in case we haven't made it clear, because it's a grid-based system and you move 1 grid at a time, every time you press undo, so to speak, you go 1 step back. So you're not playing like in Braid where you're not in like a set space every time you move. It's not it's very much modular. It's like if you want to move up, you have to press up to swing your fork so you're facing up, and then you can either move up or backwards with it. But then if you move right or left, your fork may swing and hit a sausage and move it off. The best thing we can say, go look up our video of us playing it. That's gonna make everything make a lot more sense, and then also simultaneously make it very confusing, because you're gonna realize how complicated those small mechanics actually are.
And we have all these moments of just sitting there, and I can imagine there's silence because we're like, okay, what if I? And then we did. And I will say, one of the beauties of this game that you don't really get anymore is because of its lack of explanation. You are figuring things out on the fly.
Yes.
And that can be very frustrating, but it can also be very satisfying when you figure it out, because you're like, oh, okay, so when you and I figuring things out at the exact same time.
Yes.
Because if somebody made the first move, then the second one goes, and then you spin it around.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And that part is very nice. So this game was very difficult, and we struggled a lot during it.
Yeah.
Did you find getting it right worth all the struggle to do it?
This game... So in short answer, yes.
Okay.
And here's why. This game reminded me in a very weird way of Dark Souls, where you're faced with something that seems impossible.
Yeah.
And every time you take a stab at it, like with your fork, for example, you seem to get a little bit more of an understanding of what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And sometimes in there's a bit of up and down where you're like, this is actually impossible. And you're like, oh no, I think I got it. And then you're like, no, I don't. But slowly but surely you get yourself to that feeling of like, oh, it's so clear to me now. I understand it. And when you reach the other side of having solved the puzzle, I did feel that satisfaction and immediately felt like I really want to do one more. And then the process starts again. You see the next one, you're like, I fucking don't know how to figure this out. You're in that like lost mode, like we talked about in Braid. It's like puzzle games don't work unless they make you feel hopeless every so often.
Yes.
And there's a ton of hopelessness in this game.
There is.
Did you feel the same way?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I definitely struggled during this game. And then I kind of go like, God, what the hell is the point of these games? God, like if there is only one outcome, it can be very frustrating. Whereas I think we're so used to games these days kind of being creative with their outcomes.
Yeah.
There's many different ways you could attack it.
For sure.
And this being like very clearly, I would assume only one way.
I think each puzzle takes like maybe 20 steps to complete or more. And you kind of have to get them exactly correct in order. Like that is the solution to the puzzle.
Yes, I would completely agree with you. I don't know. I don't know if these games are for me, because at the end, it's not like, hell yeah, all right, great. Yeah. There was like the first one, hey, we're very proud of ourselves.
Yes, of course.
But then after that, it was more like, oh, thank God, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And you're like, is that the fun part? Is going like, is thank God it's over?
So that's such a good, this is almost like a new Pokemon Snap corollary, like not meaning the exact same thing, but something that I feel like I'm going to reference a lot now that we've played 2 pretty challenging puzzle games in a row, where
in 3 weeks,
the oh, thank God is such a fine line, because I think when I beat the final boss in Sekiro, I was like, oh, thank God I did it. And it was just enough to give me that feeling of like, this is impossible.
Yeah.
And then doing it and feeling accomplished. And then being like, oh, I can take on anything now. The oh, thank God in this game very often was, thank God I don't have to do that again. And then the realization of there's a whole new selection of problems that you have to like make your brain malleable to again to figure out is daunting. Yeah. I don't know if it's fun.
This would be a very good game if you had to, like if you were addicted to video games.
Yes.
This would be a very good game to wean you off.
Yeah.
Because before you start every level, you'd have to be like, am I ready to do this again?
Am I ready to do this?
Like, do I want to? Okay, yeah, let's try it again. Here we go.
Yeah. It's a great point. Like the idea of if this were the only game you could play, I feel like it would almost make you see through the fabric of the addiction of some games and be like, okay, if this is what games are, then I'm not always here for it. Yeah.
No, I think that's partially it. Now, I also will say it was a lot of fun doing it with somebody.
Yes.
Because we were able to bounce ideas off of each other.
Yeah.
There were times, especially near the last level, I know I had the controller, that you were thinking, and I was just like, I'm just gonna do stuff. Let's move stuff around.
See what happens when we do.
Yeah, explore the space. You know what I mean? So, and that part's a lot of fun too. But man, it was hard because it's so simple. At least in something like Braid, there is a graphical overlay onto it that makes it go like, ooh, video games. There are enemies that you're trying to avoid. There are all these keys and doors and like stuff that you're familiar with because it's either part of like fantasy lore or it's part of video games. This one's like, what's up, motherfucker? Like, you're like, get these sausages cooked. That's it. You're like, fuck.
It's almost like purposely downplaying everything except the challenge so that all you experience is the challenge. Like you said with Braid, you may be struggling with a puzzle, but at least there's some really cool music and some cool design, and it looks like you're playing a painting. Like, that's really neat. In this, it's like, here's a game you found on your dad's computer from the 1990s that looks marginally better than Chip's Challenge. Enjoy nothing about it and just bang your head against the wall.
Isn't it funny how Minecraft doesn't look good? This looks worse. Have fun. You're like, oh, okay.
Now, I will say, like, there is a market for this game. There is,
well, clearly,
and I still do. I think I'm a lot more forgiving of its difficulty than you are, because I can see myself going back and playing a game like this. I do love puzzle games, but there's a game like Cocoon, which is so innovative in the way that it solves its puzzle, so much so to the degree where I was like, I didn't know a puzzle game could be like this. I didn't know this was a problem you could pose in a puzzle game. I'd never seen that before. And that kept me intrigued the whole time. So the kind of mind melting thing about it was like, I have no context for these puzzles. Steven Sausage Roll, the one knock I have against it is I do feel like I've seen this before. Like you said, in that Traffic Jam game or the Sokoban games, like I feel like I've played these styles of puzzles in other games before, whether those games were focused on this style of itself or not. It's the best version of that potentially, but it didn't feel innovative in a way that, say, Cocoon would.
No, I agree with you. And maybe in a sense, that's not the point. It's not to like mystify you with a new gameplay tactic or the graphics or music that didn't seem to make a big impression.
Yeah.
Like all these kind of little things. But it's kind of like a crossword. There are crosswords in every newspaper across America, across probably the world. I don't know. And that's okay. It's really the Will Shortz from New York Times. It's the guy that does it that makes it good.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter that it was sausages or
it could be anything
or whatever. It really comes down to the puzzle master. And does he make the puzzles interesting enough to keep you hooked?
Do you think he does?
I don't. I would think this is a better question for you to answer.
Yeah.
Because I just don't even know if this is the right style of game for me.
Okay. Fair.
So it might not be up to Steve Laval.
Yeah.
Is he the Steven from the Sausage Roll? Is he the titular?
He is. That's him. That's he made himself into the game, and he looks like. And every fork he uses is like a 3D 3-pronged fork.
What if it's like a classic, Twilight Zone, Are You Afraid of the Dark situation where he's been zapped into the video game and we have no idea and we're just using it over and over again?
Of all the video games to be zapped into.
I just want to eat the sausage.
Just like eat the sausage.
And it's cooked, level over. He's like, no! God damn.
Hey!
Hey, my sausage!
If the question is posed to me, I would say that in the same way that there are art house movies that are only for a particular type of movie fan.
Fair enough.
If that's what you're looking for, then you want to go to like a David Lynch or something like that. I know it's not art house, but like just that kind of weird kind of wackiness. if what you're looking for is an incredible challenge in a pretty simplistic style of game, this is incredible. Like, I think the designs or the puzzles are incredibly well designed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen a puzzle where right off the bat, there's no punches pulled. It's like, you really need to think about this, and he's not worried about holding your hand, and he just kind of wants you to get into it and pull your hair out in frustration. But like, if that's what you want, and I think a lot of people do, this is it. Yeah. It's like the puzzle fans' version of a Getting Over It by Bennett Foddy, where it's like, it's not the mechanics I'm worried about. It's the mental gymnastics I have to do to figure out how to grill these fucking sausages.
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree with you. I think it is... I wonder what his other puzzle games are like.
Yeah.
He's made 420 something games.
Yeah. Honestly, pretty bad batting average if that's the case. I know this game is very well received, but
one?
Come on, dude.
I wonder if this is the style of game he makes. You know, what relative other games are close to this? Because you really, after a while, would just go like, oh, I like the way he makes puzzles.
Sure,
I like the way his brain thinks.
Yeah.
Let's just use his games. Or I would chase those games. Because I thought this was very interesting. And if this is something that you would go after, I think this is a pretty good style of game to that would satisfy you.
I do. I definitely do. And I as we're talking, I have like 15% of my brain reserved.
Yeah.
I mean, I always have some of my brain reserved for thinking about other things when you and I are talking, especially when we're doing this podcast. But right now, the 15% is like, do I actually want to keep playing this game? Like,
really?
I had that with Braid.
Yeah.
I did want to keep playing Braid. With this one, I just feel like it's going to be kind of scratching at the back of my head or something. Like I think I got to pick it back up and see how much farther I can get.
We played 4 levels. There are 3 worlds, you said?
I don't even know how many worlds are. I know
sorry.
there are multiple worlds. Now, was the world that we're on, was each puzzle we played, was that a world? Or we don't know. Like, in 40 minutes that we played, we solved 4 or 5 puzzles, something like that. Yeah, like not a ton.
No.
So we didn't get to see much of the world. Like, when I look at Steam reviews, there are people with 30, 40 hours on record.
Wow.
And to be honest, I could not play this game for 40 hours. That's too much.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think you could beat the game?
Honestly, no. I don't know that I could.
Okay.
Do you think you could?
No.
Like,
no, I don't think, even if I was smart enough to do it.
Yeah.
Which of course I am. I'm brilliant.
I was going to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just
Does that make you feel better?
No.
No.
I don't like compliments. They freak me out.
They freak you out?
Yeah.
Good. I'll never give you another one.
Yeah, that's why I think our friendship works. You never give me compliments, and I like that. I don't know if I have enough the staying power, the commitment to do things. I think my attention span is just shot by TikTok and other things like that.
If I were locked in a room by Jigsaw and it was like saw off your leg or beat the puzzles, then sure, I bet you I could do it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm ever going to have it in me to to set aside that much time when there are so many other games that I could be playing. To sink 40 hours into this game, if for no other reason than the fact that it's like the gameplay doesn't seem varied enough, and I'm sure they introduce other mechanics, and I'm sure it becomes a little bit more complicated. But if this is it, in terms of moving sausages and grilling them, I think I'm going to lose interest pretty quick. I
would agree with you. So I was thinking about the other day. I was thinking about how much of a home run some certain brandings in movies are, like Reese's Pieces in E.T.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like it becomes just like a 1-to-1 where you go like, well, of course, E.T. loves Reese's Pieces.
Diet Coke and the Thomas Crown Affair.
Obviously,
or Diet Pepsi.
Obviously, yeah. It was so good you knew that off the top of your head.
I pulled the
God damn, that was the second one you came up with, eh? But and like you hear stories like Eminem passed.
Yeah.
And they went to Reese's Pieces and they're like, yeah, great, that's awesome. Or what a miss that was. And I was thinking what if on Castaway, if Wilson, the volleyball company, passed, what would have been like second or something like that? Because it's so perfect. It's a person's name. He's able to put a face on it, and when it goes away, it's genuinely heartbreaking.
It is, yeah.
And so I was thinking about that if somehow he was able to play a video game, because we were thinking about like Locked in a Room or Desert Island, and you had to play Steven Sausage Roll. Could you beat it if you're on a desert island? Let's just say there's power in this situation.
Yes.
Some kind of Gilligan's Island with a professor.
I was assuming that from the get-go.
Also, how funny it would be that it starts floating away and you're like, Steven Sausage Roll! No! Steven Sausage Roll! Like you just yelling that many times. Yeah, maybe I could beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But that's the thing. That's
coconut powered.
That's not how. Yeah, that's not how we play games.
Yeah, that's also
like
true.
In a room. The other thing I was questioning when we were playing the game is is this even the kind of game people want to watch someone else play? Like when you can't provide your input.
Yeah, like our brains, like you're using 50% right now.
Yeah.
Our brains were so locked into figuring out the puzzle that I don't think words were coming out for serious parts of it.
But when they were, we were like going back and forth.
Sure.
It was fun. I didn't care if I was playing or you were playing, like holding the controller. At least we were contributing. If I'm watching this on Twitch or something like that, I guess you can like type a message. But if I'm watching it on YouTube, it would just be like, I bet you it would have been very frustrating because you have an idea of what you want the person to try.
Yeah.
And you're just watching them fumble around. Like that would be very frustrating.
That would be, but I also think people like being smart. Like they like being in the know. And if you had to figure it out and you're watching two dum-dums.
He's pointing at you and me.
Yeah, no, I'm not pointing at the audience. I'm pointing
he's
at Mikey
pointing
and
at you and no, well, I can't. I don't see. It's impossible for me to register that as you calling me a dum-dum.
But that's what I was talking about. I was saying you and I were not figuring it out.
Oh, wow. Wow. Am I right? He actually looped me in with us. I mean, even for dum-dums like you guys listening, you know that's insane.
Yeah.
I was trying to give you an out because that's crazy that you think that.
You know, it's so funny. I was actually going to say that I think you were better at this than I was.
Oh.
And now I do not want to say that.
Well, you already said it.
No.
Yep.
No.
I'm going to my grave
said I was going to.
that. Bye.
Bye. Time to jack off.
That's what I'm doing in my grave. Jacking off.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I wonder... I think people like being in the know and like watching people that don't figure it out and you go, I am smarter than them. There's a certain movie trope about that, you know, like whodunits and stuff like that, like knowing who did it. Then again, you know, this is bad for the podcast, but like I'm also not a big watch other people play video game guy.
Fair.
I think that's generational. I just missed out on that and now it's very much part of YouTube and Twitch. And,
of course.
Whatever. I'm just not a big watching other people play video games. But I wonder if you would have liked knowing, or if you figured out the puzzle before we did, if you would have liked watching that.
I think there's a difference. It's kind of a fine line, but the difference would be like, again, I'll bring up Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of game where I feel like you can watch someone else play it because it's mechanical and you're watching someone fail in like a slapsticky kind of way. Your job as the viewer is not to get over it. It's to watch someone else fail while trying to get over it.
Yeah, getting up really far.
In a game like this, I feel like it would be almost impossible to not assume that you can figure it out and kind of watch that instead of watching the failures of a person.
Right.
And it's really hard to figure out the solution when you can't get in there and like play with the Play-Doh and like shape it into what you want to shape it and see what works and what doesn't.
So I will say, Getting Over It is the guy in the bowl that has the hammer
thing. Yeah.
Yes, and he's all you can do is like pickaxe your way up by spinning it. Have you ever played it?
No. I feel like that's the kind of game where I would feel this unending urge to beat it and like an annoyance until I do, but I wouldn't enjoy the process of actually doing it.
Interesting. That's
like
kind of
that's
on the verge of what we're talking about here. So
yeah.
maybe that is a very good comparison. That's why I keep bringing it up, probably, right? Yeah, okay. That, you know, that's very interesting. So this is like, well, would this game just be called a puzzle game? Is this the genre of game?
I think this is like the definition of a puzzle game. Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. But okay, so we've played Braid, we've played Steven's Sausage Roll. First question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which one did you like better?
Braid.
Second question. Are you more or less a fan of puzzle games after having played both of these two?
Oh man, that's a great question. I like puzzles in general. I like crosswords. I play connections every day. You know, all those ones. I like trivia, quizzes. That kind of stuff does scratch a certain itch in my brain.
Yeah.
But this is just so nakedly that I don't know if I fully enjoy it.
This as in this game
this
or the
style
genre?
of game, this genre of game.
Yeah.
I just don't know because we've seen two very good versions of it. Like there's no way to not play this and go like, wow, that's pretty quality. Like, man, it really made you struggle and then you overcame it and that was really fun. And I just don't know if that's something that this is the medium that I really like doing that in. You know
I hear you. I think there's something about, I mean, obviously it depends on a lot of external factors, but I'll use Cocoon again as an example where it's an adventure game, which is, it's a puzzle game disguised as an adventure game. What I like about that is similar to Steven's Sausage Roll and Braid. Everything you need to solve the puzzle right in front of you is around you. It's not the Metroidvania thing where it's like, well, I'm going to have to get something and come back to find the solution to this problem. And there's something, it's not that I dislike Metroidvanias. In fact, I love them. They're one of my favorite genres, but there's something very freeing about knowing everything I need is right here. let me figure it out. And I think that's why people like those like escape room kind of games.
Yeah,
where it's like,
I've never done one of those.
Yeah. Though that is kind of appealing to me. I do like puzzle games. Is this my favorite one? I'm not sure about that. But I was curious to kind of get that sense from you, because I know you're not a massive puzzle game fan specifically, but we've kind of like sat with it. We've stewed in it for a while with these ones. And I didn't know if that would have changed you one way or another. Like, are you more certain that you're not a fan now than you were before?
I hate to say it, but like video games in general are so much more dressed up in my brain. That, like, I think I would need something that's a little bit more elaborate, even graphically or story-wise or something, to at least the trappings are like, well, now I'm invested in this.
That's true.
This just feels so superficial.
That is definitely a negative thing about this game. But what about this? What if you, the benefit of that is it is so much more modular that you could separate it out and not feel like one part affects the rest of it. Whereas like Braid, there's a story interwoven into it. Cocoon, it's like it's again like a story and an adventure. There's a beginning and an end point, among which there are different puzzles. What if you treated a game like this as Wordle or your crossword, where it's like, I'm going to do one a day?
Yeah.
Would this fit better into that in your life in that way? Or are these puzzles individually? Because like Wordle is more of like a mental exercise than a puzzle.
Yeah.
This is the opposite, where it's a puzzle. Would this fit or no?
I think it would. Yeah. If you could do something like just slide blocks over and you'd be like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
If that was a little tile in the New York Times app, on your phone.
Would it need to be easier than this?
I don't think it would, because it only takes about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's sometimes what Connections takes.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a totally doable thing. Do you get it every time?
No, not every time. Most times.
Yeah, most times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The problem, here's a sidebar about Connections. We should do Connections, our New York Times
in a
podcast
heartbeat. We should do that
on the podcast. My least favorite thing in Connections, and this happened a couple days ago. I mean, as of recording a couple weeks ago, but when there's a category and there are 6 logical words that you could use for it, like there was pieces of hardware or something like that. It was like screw, nail, rod, nut, bolt, and like one other one. And Connections, obviously, you need 4 of a word to complete a category. And if I know that I'm working with these 6, you can't really guess if there's other ones, because then the variations you use are kind of off. And this was one of like the first categories that you could do. So I'm like, I wasted 2 guesses just being like, I don't know which one do you want from me? There's no logic as to why this wouldn't work. And that kind of pisses me off.
So you don't get that they're like, don't do this. That's not this.
No, I do. I get that they want me to go somewhere else, but in this case, this was the first category, where the first category should never be that.
Okay, I see what you're saying, because the colors.
Yeah.
Do you think there was a Batman villain called the Puzzler, and he like showed up one day and he's like, Batman, and he looked over and somebody was already doing a spiel and he's like, Riddler?
Fuck, do you think he just moved to Metropolis or something?
He's got like little pieces on him and stuff like that. He's got question marks. He's like, oh shit. Just go into the dark. He's like, did anyone hear anything? No.
Let me call my contact at Marvel and see if they need someone else.
Yeah. Fuck. They're a Joker, so.
Do you think the Joker would be good at, or the Riddler would be good at this game? Steven Sausage Roll?
Yeah, he would have to be, right?
I hope so.
Yeah, Edward Nygma, I think, would just go crazy otherwise.
He seems like the kind of guy who, we made the reference on the gameplay recording, but like who could Queen's Gambit their way through a puzzle, just see the board and then like photographic memory their way into the solution afterwards.
Or people that play chess by like photos or things like that. Yeah, I know. The Joker. Man, that new movie's coming out.
Yeah.
Isn't the Joker kind of like King Lear of our time? Where like all of our best actors like, I'll take a crack at the Joker. Do you want to see my version of the Joker?
Honestly, here's the thing. I know that, again, this is like the fucking Cybertruck thing there, like where...
What's that? Never heard of it.
These weird things become like a political stance.
Yes.
And I'm like, I really liked the Joker. I don't know what that means politically. I'm excited for the second one. You know why? I love Joaquin Phoenix as an actor, and you just give me a close-up of his face for 2.5 hours. I'm good to watch that.
Right.
And yet I say that and people are like, you're like the incels, and fucking that guy in jail who wrote that song got royalties off of the
Gary Glitter. Yeah, the pedophile.
Yeah. I'm like whatever. It's one event now.
See, the worst part about the Joker for me is that I don't care for that movie, and I don't mean it in like one way or another. I just mean, I think it's a very like totally fine, I never would have thought about it ever again movie. And now it's like, you need to have an opinion on this. And I'm like, I don't think I do.
It's like I'm entering into this discourse I don't want to enter in by liking. It's like, I also like the Phantom thread. And it doesn't, and I know a lot of people don't like that, but
those people are wrong.
Those people are wrong for sure. Everything PTA does is gold.
Yeah.
But to be on one side or the other doesn't mean I'm like taking a stance socially or politically. It's just a fucking movie I'm watching that I
like. I love Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga. Are you excited for the new Joker or no?
I am not a huge Todd Phillips guy. I think subtlety died a long time ago in his life.
He and Zack Snyder seem like they just have this like meeting of the minds where they're like, more.
Yeah. No, but like he's made a lot of movies that you like. He makes Old School and you're like, hey, this is a funny ass movie. He makes The Hangover. You're like, hey, this changed comedies. Then he makes 2 and 3 because, money's money. And 100%. What are you going to do? Like, and then, he's like, fuck, I just get to do whatever I want. I'm going to make the Joker. And you're like, oh, okay. And he's like, now I'm going to make one about like musicals. And it's like thoughtful. And you're like, yeah, we'll see about that.
We'll see. We'll see.
Hey, who knows? I'm sure it'll do very well, and people have lots of opinions.
I think so,
because
the first Joker did incredibly well, right?
Incredibly well.
Yeah.
And he won an Oscar for it.
What did it win an Oscar for?
Joaquin Phoenix.
He won for that?
Didn't he? Yeah, he did.
That's crazy.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Actor or supporting? Has to be actor.
Yeah, well, he is the titular Joker.
What year did that come out?
Can you imagine if he was Robert De Niro? yeah, he's the best actor. 2019, 20? I have no idea.
Jesus Christ. Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah. He's the second person to win an Oscar for playing the Joker? Like this is what I'm talking
Heath
about.
Ledger didn't win.
Yeah, Heath Ledger won.
He did?
Posthumously, yeah.
Why am I forgetting all of the guys who won Oscars
for
the Joker?
I also don't know. If you don't know, why do you always go like, he didn't? Like, why are you saying that?
No, because I feel like that's the kind of thing I would know. I'm a fucking huge Batman fan. Like, I feel like I would know that.
Yeah, I'm shocked that you don't know kind of too important, yeah.
That's the reason why I question its validity, is because I'm like, if it were true, I would know.
Well,
No, he didn't.
Okay.
And don't look it up after.
Yeah, he did.
Don't look it up.
He did.
Andrew, stop. Put your phone away.
I did. He did. I don't actually know where my phone is.
Let's get back to Steven Sausage Roll.
Are you gonna look up Heath Ledger now too?
Fucking what the fuck? He did.
So glad he's dead.
I want to talk about reception. And then, are you really?
No.
Who are you more sad about, Heath Ledger or Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Oh, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
100%.
Well,
I didn't care when Heath Ledger died. No, you have to pick one. You have to pick one.
Why do I have to?
And you have to tell the other one's family that you don't love them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this is it.
I gotta look up Buddy Valentine from whatever. Yeah. No, it's too bad because it seems like Heath Ledger was like going like, you know what I'm gonna do? Just make cool movies, and then he dies, and you're like, that's too bad.
Yeah. I think that was God punishing him for Brokeback Mountain.
Being too handsome. Oh, Brokeback Mountain.
God didn't like that movie.
No, he didn't. So explain Jake Gyllenhaal. He's like, hey, you're gonna be never bigger than you are right now.
Jake Gyllenhaal, we almost canceled him because he doesn't use soap.
Oh, can I? What?
Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't use soap.
No, I think it's Matthew McConaughey doesn't use deodorant.
I think Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't use soap.
Don't Google that. I was going to say one more thing, and then we'll get back to the game. Jake Gyllenhaal is in Prime Apple, one of the something called for Presumed Innocent. A movie from the 80s that was also a very popular book that has, and I'm not going to spoil it, a very big twist in that movie that was kind of the appeal of the movie, right? People go, did you see that movie with the twist? And so now they're making it into a TV show. And I think I'm doing the same thing a lot of people are doing. We're like, they're just doing the twist? Are we just doing that? And now you start doing the weird thing of going like, is it a second twist on a twist?
Yes.
Is there, maybe the twist doesn't exist and that's the one you're,
and that's the twist.
Whatever.
But what a weird, like, simulacrum of like the twist is that the thing you expected them to twist wasn't twisted, but the only way that works is if you've seen the original.
Yes.
That's so weird.
Is writing something with the full knowledge of the audience having knowledge of something else is just like fourth wall breaking meta. I can't.
So weird.
It's hard to get my head around. So I don't know. When I finish it, I'll let you know. But
okay.
Yes.
Are you're watching it now?
Yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal is just like,
I like him.
Geared up and ready to go.
I like Jake Gyllenhaal.
It must have been right after filming Roadhouse because he is just
jacked as
to
fuck.
the neck.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the reception first of this game, and then we're going to go through some Steam reviews, and I've got a little game I want to play with you, okay? So,
play a game?
Would you like to play a game?
Yeah, I'd love to play a game.
Cut off your leg or beat this game.
Gary Owens in the first one. Would you like to play a game? Oh, yes, I'd love to play a game. Thank you.
Like the idea, it's like, would you like to play a game? You either cut your leg off or play the rest of Steven Saucer Roll. I'm like, is that Saw Rusty? Yeah. Okay, hand it over here.
I'm 127 hours in this thing.
The reception of this game. What do you think Metacritic would have given? No, I mean, Metacritic doesn't give the game, but the aggregate score, what do you think it would be on this?
I imagine it's high. I would say 87%.
90.
Okay.
90 out of 100. You're close. Destructoid gave it a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Edge gave it a 9 out of 10.
Edge.
And Edge also gave it a PC Game of the Year in 2016. For context, what else came out in 2016? Overwatch, Inside, Firewatch,
oh wow,
Civilization 6,
oh wow,
Dark Souls 3, XCOM 2, and coming at me straight in the jugular, Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh wow.
Which how does this
200 people, millions and millions of dollars, and they make this thing and they go, look at this beat us. What the fuck is this? That's amazing.
Game Informer gave it an 8 out of 10.
Informer.
Nice. 8 out of 10. So the lower of all the scores.
Okay, brought it down.
Okay, I want to go over some of the Steam reviews. And the game I want to play with you is, after reading these reviews, I want you to tell me the one that describes your opinion of this game the most.
Okay, all right, cool.
So tons of positive reviews for this game.
Yeah.
The negative ones are, as you'd expect, this game's too difficult. So I tried to get something a little bit more elaborate. Stumitriu, with 35.9 hours on the game, positive review, says 10 plus out of 10.
That's not how it works, dude.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, it's out of 10.
In fact,
110%, get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out. Yeah. We got to do, it's like 100. Yeah, 110. Fuck that.
No.
It's impossible. Yeah. Mathematically, I'm sure someone can explain to me that it is possible, but I don't like those people.
Yeah, I don't like that.
They probably love this game. Fucking good at
math.
Love
it.
Ugh, idiots. Spatial awareness freaks. Yeah. Fork Sausage Grill, he says. A simple idea pushed to the max in one of the hardest games ever.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair.
You know, I think is it one of the hardest games ever? That can't be true.
Put it this way, Andrew, he's got almost 40 hours on record.
Oh.
We did 40 minutes and we were already really struggling with it.
Yeah.
Imagine how elaborate these puzzles end up getting 40 hours in.
Yes. So like in our very short sample size, keep that in mind. Very, very small sample size. They did get easier though. I think you and
they got easier because we started at the fourth one and moved our way back.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, that's a good point. I take it back.
Gbors with 30.5 hours says, sometimes touted as the greatest puzzle game of all time, and curiously also by some people who are authors of some of the best puzzle games of all time. He's talking about Jonathan Blow. Steven Sausage Roll is an exercise in taking puzzle design elegance to the limit while making the presentation and the marketing of the game as unattractive as possible without actually breaking its feasibility as a video game.
Ooh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Stokey with 2 hours says, too difficult for me and I enjoy puzzle logic games. What's really demotivating is how quick the game is to fail you on a level. Most moves will end the level, except if you play exactly the right moves. What this creates is a very short fused negative feedback cycle of deaths. You can undo your fatal moves to discover more fatal moves. I was also deceived by what the gameplay would look like. Most captures on the store page show larger environments with lots of different elements, at least in the beginning levels, which I didn't have the patience to get past. The game is confined to very minimal 6x8-ish tile grids with no spatial elements.
I disagree most with that one.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I think that's, I'm sure there's gonna be other ones, but I just don't get the other, like, there's only one outcome to this puzzle. Most puzzles
that's
are kind of like that.
Welcome to the puzzles.
Yeah. Hey, I like puzzle games. I don't think you do. I think you need to kind of revisit your own interests.
I agree. I also think Stokey is undervaluing the idea of like the quick restart mechanic, where, as you mentioned, it's like death in this game is not, it's not like it takes a ton of time to, you're not building up. It's not Dark Souls where you're losing your experience and like starting again from scratch. You're just like, okay, I'll just do what I just did again and then start from there. Like,
even when you fail, you can always just go back a couple of times. I don't really understand that, but yeah, okay.
It's almost like they were like slagging the fact that you could press undo. It's weird. Yeah. Chiral Proctor with 39 hours says, no exaggeration when I say this is a perfect game. Never before has an elongated cube made me go, whoa, but here we are.
Yeah, okay. I think he needs to go outside.
I think so. Whoa.
Yeah.
The touch of a woman.
The Grand Canyon? No. Looks back down to
sausages.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I almost burned that one.
Whoa.
Oh, my God.
Mpent with 4.2 hours says, too much for my puny brain. I will keep trying to see if I can finish more than a few levels. Definitely an addictive game, but kind of frustrating spending an hour or two playing and not being able to finish even a single level. This game is for geniuses only, or for people who have something in their brain that I seem to be missing. Only for hardcore puzzle player geniuses. I'm not one of those, but will still keep playing because I feel like I have not figured this game out.
Wow, they get the honesty award.
Yeah, 100%.
God, that's like incredibly honest.
100%.
Wow, good for them.
Kelvisu with 21.6 hours says, this is the most fair puzzle game I've ever played. Needs a story, though. Why is this guy grilling sausages?
Why do any of us grill sausages, really?
That's a great question. Yeah. With all the sodium.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. The health benefits are.
So which of those reviews?
Maybe, what was that? The second one that was kind of like, it's good, but it's hard.
Yes.
I think that's the one with the terrible graphics, terrible marketing. Yeah. I think I agreed most with that one.
Yeah, I think that was a really solid one. There's an element for me of Kelvisu's that says this is the most fair puzzle game I've ever played. Now, I don't like when I'm dealing with reviews of saying most and best.
Yeah, sure.
But it is, I think that's one thing that stands out. This is an incredibly fair puzzle game.
Yeah.
And I think most puzzle games should be. Now, Braid being a different example where it does require some kind of twitch mechanics or some ability to control even once you've figured the puzzle out. Maybe you can argue that that's less fair because you just want to be like, I know what to do. Just fucking get me to the next stage.
Yeah.
But this is an incredibly fair one, and it's fair because of its simplicity, I think.
I would agree with you. I think that, it's hard to be, when we say it's like punishingly difficult or something like that, or unfair.
Yeah.
It's usually because like the computer is doing something off screen, or, you were put at a deficit that how was I ever to overcome this?
Yes.
This is just, it is what it is. It's up to you. How is this not fair? You know what I mean? You put yourself in this situation. So like,
yeah, in my basement, and I've offered you a saw and I've offered you a game and you chose the game.
Yes. I have a little doll in tricycle. I think this is all very clear.
It's a cute doll.
It's a cute doll.
I got it at Value Village.
DC Saw 10?
Is that the Chris Rock one?
No, that is.
There's another Saw movie?
Yeah, it came out like last Halloween. The only reason I bring it up is because Jigsaw is the hero.
Sorry?
Okay. I am going to not ruin it for anyone, but this is essentially the plot of the thing, is that he is sick, right? That's been the premise of these games.
He's been sick for like 20 fucking years, dude.
He died, right? So this is a prequel. I think it fits in like between 2 and 3, where he goes down to like Mexico to get like radical treatment on whatever is going on with him. I think it's cancer. And the doctors actually are evil, and they try and take advantage of him and steal from him and like use him as like a test subject. The problem is they don't know
it's fucking Jigsaw, dude.
And so it exacts like a revenge plot against these evil doctors, and the whole time you're cheering for Jigsaw.
See, that makes sense because one of the Saw movies was, I think it was like 3 or 4, was kind of the same, where he's front and center, and the person who's in the Jigsaw scenario is an insurance broker who declines his claim. And in my mind, I'm like, maybe not the guy to go to. That guy's pushing pencils.
Yeah.
I don't know that you need to get him to like saw his own teeth off.
Yeah.
Oh God. That's worse than the leg now that I say it. Holy hate that. But that was a weird one where it felt like you were supposed to be cheering for him, and I'm like, I don't think that justifies what you're doing to him.
Get the middle manager. It's like, well, like, I don't know, maybe get the CEO or
who's
something.
on shift right now.
Yeah. So he's the janitor at that insurance. Get him. And no, I don't think that's a good thing.
If you're silent, you're consenting. It's well, actually, not what I mean. But
no, but I don't know if I want to.
It really depends on the context whether that's true or not.
I don't want to litigate that. That's good. All right, cool.
Andrew, do you want to get into our reviews of this game?
I think that is great.
So normally what we do on the podcast is we take a look back at games that we loved as kids, and we give it a rating out of 4 bits based on our memory of the game back when we played it, and then we play the game, come back and give it a rating also out of 4 bits based on how the game holds up in the modern game.
Oh, Jesus.
Happy Pride Month, everyone. Modern day against the likes of modern games. This time, because obviously we didn't play the game back in 2016 or when we were children, we're going to be giving it a review just on what we think we would have thought about it, how we played it when we were kids, and then it's modern day score. So Andrew, do you want to start us off in the retro score?
Yeah. Retro score, unfortunately, is going to suffer a little bit. Yeah. I don't think me as a kid playing this game, for a couple of reasons, would have really seen the nuance of the skillful puzzle modeling and stuff like that. It looks like shit, and it's hard as hell.
Yeah.
I would have hated it. And I'm so sorry that these scores are so subjective. This is the rubric that we use. This is our own puzzle master, if you will. We are trying to play a game, and I hate insurance brokers, so watch out. No, I really would have hated this game. Yes. I think there's no way around this. I don't think I would have seen what's excellent about it. Now, how far down do I go? Like, how far do I punish it as a child? I'm not sure. If they had, the problem is, I am a lemming, and if I had seen great reviews, I probably would have played it and went, okay, I'm gonna say I liked it, but I don't really get it. I'm gonna give it 2 out of 4.
2 out of 4. Oh man, as a kid, I'm going so much lower than that. Okay, I don't think there would be anything redeeming for me in this game as a kid. The graphics weren't there. The story wasn't there. I think about games that I used to play and fail in the first level and think they were the worst games ever made.
Yeah.
And I think Steven Sausage Roll would be something where I legitimately maybe never even got to the point where I tried a level.
Sure.
There's no hand holding in terms of like, here's how you start the first puzzle. I think I would have walked right off into the water, turned it off, gave my dad the finger for bringing this game home instead of Duke Nukem 3D. I would have been pissed off. Legitimately, this would have been a 0.5 out of 4 for me. There's no, like, here's the thing. This is a retro score. This is what I would have thought as a kid. As a kid, I would have been way too stupid to understand what was going on. I don't even think I would have found it funny, the fact that it was sausages. I would have wanted nothing to do with this game.
Oh, wow. So that's a 2.5 out of 8 in its retro score.
Yeah.
Now I think we get to the fair scores here a little bit. In our current scores, this is more of a question of a user issue than I think a game issue.
Sure.
Do I like puzzle games? Do I like the simplicity of this game? Do I like that the difficulty is really the shining star, the reason you're drawn back to it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But from a distance, and even when in the short time we were playing, I can see its excellence in there. I can see what makes it fun and difficult, even though that might not be for me. So I'm going to dock it a little bit for my own taste, but I'm going to give it credit for being the game it is. I'm going to give it 3 out of 4.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on this one. And I considered going 3.5 just because it is incredibly well designed as a puzzle game. It's incredibly simplistic. And I think that's what a lot of people like about it. But nowadays, I feel like a puzzle game can give you a little bit more intriguing story, better design. Like there's a purposeful de-resing of a game that I think a lot of people like. And this feels like it takes it a step too far. There's a version of this game that works, but a version of it which I think has a little bit more uniqueness in the puzzle design itself. Not like these are incredibly well designed, incredibly well thought out, but are the puzzles themselves unique? I don't know. Like I said, I feel like I've played something like this before. However, I feel like I played crosswords before, like you said, and I would do them all the time. I'd still play them. I would still play them all the time. I'm therefore just going to say like, this is a great puzzle game with a ton of depth. Even in its simplicity, it's a 3 out of 4 for me as well.
Oh, wow. There you go. So 6 out of 8 in the modern score. And that is a total of 8.5 out of 16.
8.5. Jonathan Blow would think our reviews blowed.
Yes, I'm sure you never heard that one before.
Hey, Jonathan Blow, Braid is
my
great.
nuts. 8.5, a little tough with the retro scores, but a 6 out of 8 in the current score is pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think I hear the paparazzi.
Oh.
Yeah.
At first I thought those were just like the crackling of sausages on a grill, but it seems like those are cameras.
Yeah, man. I thought somebody had like 200 sausages on a grill, on a big grill.
Well, just in case there are giant sausages on a grill, why don't we walk over to the red carpet and get started this award ceremony?
I think we float over like 2 cartoon characters around the grill.
You've been waiting for it all year. The most glamorous award ceremony of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, the Grady's.
Oh, here we are. No, it's light bulbs.
Oh,
it's cracked light bulbs.
Yes, because we've established also that it's old-timey light bulbs.
Yes.
One-time use, comes up really hot, explodes.
And then you just kind of like eject the light bulb and everyone steps on them because our shoes are just wood.
Right, yes, yeah. And then you pass by those ones that still today, like at an airport for some reason, and they're like, shoe shine? You're like,
oh yeah,
who's doing this?
Do they always like single you out when you're walking by?
Every time, and I'm always like, you're gonna my Air Maxes? Like, what are you doing with that? And the problem is, yes, there is some kind of like, we'll clean them up. And you're like, I probably, but like,
my thing is like, you can't not look like the biggest douchebag
sitting there
when that's happening to you.
The only way you can do it is you have to have a newspaper.
That's true.
If you just pull out your phone, you look like just a slob.
Or how about this? I'm going to do you one better.
Yeah,
fedora as well.
Yeah.
And then when you get up, you have a folded coat over your arm and a briefcase.
Yeah, it's 32 degrees out and you have a folded overcoat and a briefcase that you're traveling for 2 weeks with, you know. Yeah, because that's the way it works.
And by the way, those suspenders look great on you.
Okay, 2 things. I am always baffled at the fact that I look at rolling luggage.
Yes.
And I went, how did we not think of this from the beginning? Like people are just carrying like trunking tress over their back.
Yeah.
And they're like, why didn't we put wheels on this thing?
That's true.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And then, Mikey, you just feel like a guy that's so desperate to be like, God, I hope fedoras
come
just
back.
Like get saved from.
I tried to bring them back in university.
Yeah, the reputation they currently have. Like, please.
Well, I mean, I was there watching the movie The Adjustment Bureau.
Yeah,
like we're close.
Yeah, we're so close.
I got my finger on the pulse. We're close.
They made it cool.
They made it really cool.
Yeah.
Jonathan, what's his name? I know Matt Damon was in it, but from Mad Men, the gray hair.
Oh, yeah.
Slattery?
John Slattery.
Yeah,
very
John
nice.
Slattery.
Yes, well done.
Which is what I do to my leg instead of playing this game.
Elliot coming out in a fedora. Wow, that was a quick change. Jesus Christ, how did you know?
And
how big is that closet back there?
I did not expect him to do. I ran this joke by him, but I said for sausage rolls, I was like, "Come sausages out," and I didn't think he would do it.
Sausage out,
sausage out, and he did it. I'm not mad about it,
right?
But I know God, probably is.
Yes,
this is a Brokeback Mountain scenario all over again for God.
We have established in this podcast God is vengeful and
homophobic.
Yeah, homophobic. Yeah, how about that? Doesn't like happiness. Elliot, I don't know if there's going to be an award for this game considering a score, so please let us know. Did this game win any awards?
The Wine Cellar. Let me dust off my fanciest fedora for this one, my friend. Nothing pairs quite as well with a gamme.
Yeah, you had it. Yeah,
gamme. But I've already said gamme.
Gewürztraminer
Then a fedora.
Yeah.
The smell of my leather fedora with this.
I'm a freaky daddy.
Let me take
this is my night fedora.
I sleep in this thing.
You just show up to your local sex club in a full gimp costume and a leather fedora. Unzip your mouth to go, "Milady," and then zip it back up.
In my mind, it was brown leather. I see now. I see now what you're doing, and that makes sense too.
Yeah. Brown leather. Can you imagine you show up in a brown leather gimp suit? People are like, "Whoa, look at this freak.
Why do we ever see
this guy's problem?"
Like you're playing baseball with like fucking.
It's like soft, untreated leather.
Yeah, like when you go to an old boxing gym and all the gloves are just like a radial. Like before the black leather gimp suits.
Yes.
The brown leather gimp suits tied up with like twine.
Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, you had to tie them up like an old boxing glove. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, oh God. Yeah, that would be so. That'd be so. God, this guy's got a suede gimp costume. Don't get me wet. Don't get me wet.
Please
wink,
don't.
Wink.
Well, you would get wet if you spilled wine on you, and that's what the Wine Cellar is for. It's for a game that where the higher score or the current score is higher than the retro score, which this obviously gets
handfully,
and largely in part due to my retro score of a 0.5, which I stand by. I think I would have hated this game.
I wish I'd gone lower. I think you were absolutely correct. Yeah. So we played Steven Sausage Roll, one of Jonathan Blow from Braids. He says the favorite puzzle game of all time. Best puzzle game of all time. So please let us know. Have you played this game? What did you think of it? Did you get farther than Mikey and I? Probably. And were we wrong about anything? Probably. But until then, we love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name's Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over.
Milady.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Of course I am. I'm brilliant.
I was going to say,